Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Andor. Now, in this episode we get to see the aftermath of what happened on their mission. So, Cassian has made it back to his home planet, well, his planet where his mother is, I should say. And the big issue here is he's realizing that things aren't what he thought they were. What he finds out is that he is considered to be the fault of why the Empire has completely taken over the planet now. Their presence is well known, has made sure that they have stayed there the entire time since he left, and apparently it took him a day to decide. Now, what he's finding out, too, is not only does everyone hate him, including pretty much everyone on the planet, and his ex-girlfriend. They obviously also blame him. But the big thing with his mother is because he's trying to leave planet and try to live a brand new life somewhere else. He then starts to look for and have a better idea of what's going on in the sense of after what he caused, basically. And what he's seeing is, especially from his mother, I mean, he doesn't see it from anybody else yet, but we see it. People are rallying towards this event. There are some people who are realizing that the Empire is something to be beaten or faced against. It's not something that's inevitable. It can be something that you riot against, fight against, and hopefully, eventually, kick it out of there. And his mother is super excited about the idea because she now sees that there's a chance out there. There's a chance that the entire galaxy can be different, that the Empire doesn't need to exist anymore, and that we, I put that in quotations, the people, can decide and fight against it and make sure that there's a chance of freedom again. I think that's awesome. Cassian then, leaves planet after realizing that nobody cares about him. But during this time, I want to make it clear, too, that we find out how Cassian's adopted father dies. Really messed up, personally, I think so. They had the Empire walking through, so a bunch of stormtroopers were walking through, and a bunch of locals went out and started throwing stuff at the stormtroopers. And what happened was Cassian's adopted father went out and tried to stop them, saying it's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was he got punished for it, and he actually was hung to death. Awful thought. But anyway, all that being said, that's the big piece of that part. So then we see it on the senator side. So what we find out is that the senator is realizing how dire the situation is. Mo realizes that, oh my goodness, this is much more serious than she had originally thought. So she goes to see the guy, and what she finds out is that this was the plan all along, and that he kept a secret from her because, well, he didn't want her to know, one, and two, that it was so confidential that he needed to make sure that it was happening and happening properly, without any tips to the Empire, even if it was by mistake. So she's freaking out, very concerned at the fact that what potentially could be happening, because now she knows that the Empire is going to do some sort of attack back, and that they're going to need to be prepared for it. So we also see that after this talk, she starts to go and talk to her friend that she had talked about a few episodes ago. I cannot remember which episode, but she had talked about how she had somebody in mind to help out, and he was like, no, we don't need any other people involved. And it turns out to be a banker from her home planet. And he basically shrugs her off because he thinks of her as just some sort of Empire mouthpiece. And that's how she knew she could trust him the most. And she explains that, they're going to need funding and everything else, and that there's going to be a lot that needs to be done. And the less that he knows, the better off he is. And it kind of leaves off on the idea that he doesn't 100% agree to it, but he also doesn't deny it or go against it either. He doesn't say, no way in heck am I going to be helping you. So he's definitely got to be in some sort of way thinking about actually getting involved. So that's that piece right there. And then we have what I find interesting is, so the guy who got Cassian back into the fold, aka getting him onto the mission. His little stewardess, store clerk, whatever you want to call it, she starts walking in the middle of this planet, and she meets with Vel, I think is how you pronounce her name, who was the female leader of the rebellion. Of that particular mission, I should say, not the rebellion as a whole. And the store clerk is basically like, you shouldn't have done this. This was very dangerous. And that just sending a message and receiving it, those two acts separately are dangerous, but doing them together is even worse. So they talk about, bad things that had happened and everything else, blah, blah, blah. And the big thing was she basically tells her that she's got to hunt down Cassian and remove the loose end, which is horrifying to think about, but things need to be done. Things need to be done. And then we have, remember the commander who pretty much messed up the mission, had a bunch of his men die, then he got fired, and now his mother got his uncle to give him a job. Well, the job is, I guess, they go through just files and stuff like that. So he has agreed to do it, and he is miserable. I'm not quite sure what we're going to see of him. Really confusing it why he's such a focal point, especially for the fact that he really hasn't done much other than mess up. So I would imagine he has to have some sort of redemption, or else they wouldn't be wasting all this time on him. Although nothing has gone towards that yet. Then we have the Empire itself. So now that after this event has happened, they are now having the Intelligence Bureau basically take over everything. They have full access to all archives, records, without any issue or hesitance. What we have to begin with is that the Empire is going to be is going to have tax increases for all areas of, I think it's 8 times or 8% more. I forget which one it was. I feel like it was 8 times more until all the credits that were stolen has been accounted for. Because if anybody steals from the Empire, everyone suffers. And that's the big thing there that really solidifies, in my opinion, the fact that the Empire really shot itself in the foot. Really, I understand it's an evil empire and all that stuff, but it's still a government, and the fact that they are punishing all people for a crime of a select few shouldn't make it all that surprising that a rebellion actually comes to fruition. Now, there's a bunch of different scenes in this. That was the first one. Then that woman who was really PO'd and that nobody's believing that there is a rebellion afoot. She gets all the evidence that she needs, and she has to present it in front of everyone. The problem is she doesn't present it the way she wants to. She gets called out on her character, and what comes to find out is she proves that she was in the right all along, that in actuality there is some sort of rebellion, and it spans through all sectors, and it's not something that's specified in a singular sector. And that she's making the point that just because we, as the Empire, have divided into sectors, that does not mean that this rebellion or this group cares about it and will go to multiple sectors to wreak havoc. Well, the leader of the Intelligence Bureau actually doesn't dismiss it. He says that she's onto something and that they will have to look into it further. And then when they leave together, he explains to her that she should be careful and watch her back. Basically stating that, even though she is in the right path and doing what should be done, she's doing it in a way that she's not making friends, and people will kill for their reputation. And he's just making sure that she watches herself. Now, overall, what we see here is actually making sense in the sense of how the rebellion actually is starting to be formed, in the sense of that one act of pure destruction to the Empire and being, have their credits stolen, proves multiple things. That one, the Empire is not as invincible as people had thought, which makes them more likely to go against the Empire. Then we also have the fact that people are realizing that, there are other people that feel the same way as I do. Let me start looking for those people. So I think with that act alone, we're now seeing the rebellion growing in a way that, even if it's not cohesive yet, because it's definitely not cohesive, I think it's spreading its roots all throughout the galaxy now, more so because of this incident. And then at the end of the episode, we have Cassian on a remote planet, also controlled by the Empire, um, safe and away. And unfortunately, he sees a bunch of rebels. Well, we're assuming are rebels that stole something from the Empire, and he gets arrested for pretty much association. So the problem was he was walking in the same direction as them, and therefore they take it to the assumption that guess what, you are a criminal, and so he gets punished. And what was once a 6-month prison sentence has now been updated to a 6-year sentence. And it's because the Empire is not taking any risks, and anybody who has any acts of rebellion towards the Empire, it is considered treason, and they will be dealt with accordingly. And all their sentencing has been changing, significantly longer sentences, which is a big thing now. Which is why Cassian, who is not Cassian, I say that because he's changed his name, obviously, while he was on planet. And now he's sentenced to 6 years, and he was taken into a prison. So we know the next episode he's going to be in prison. So we'll be interested to see how he gets out, or how the rebellion gets him out. But overall, I definitely like where this series is going. They're definitely showing the building blocks of the rebellion, and how it was pretty much just a bunch of puzzle pieces, and now they're starting to be put in together, slowly but surely. Overall, looking much forward to where this series is going to be going. I believe, do not quote me on this, I believe there's 5 more episodes. So I'm curious at how much further they're going to go into this. That being said, we know that there's going to be another season, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. That being said, let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? And let me know why. As always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a good night.